The loan application on my desk made me smile. Applicant, Robert and Diana Foster. Requested amount, $50,000. Purpose, home renovation. My parents' signatures sat just beneath the letterhead, my bank's letterhead. Miss Foster. Sarah, my assistant, hovered in the doorway. Your brother's here again. Third time this week. I leaned back in my chair, the memory of that day 5 years ago surfacing like a bruise pressed too hard. We've decided to give your trust fund to Andrew, Mom had said in the family living room. He needs it for his startup. You're just working at a bank. He deserves it more. That, just working at a bank, job turned out to be the first move in acquiring First Regional Trust, the very institution my family had banked with for generations. Now I was its CEO, and I personally reviewed all major loan applications, including the increasingly desperate ones from my own relatives. Send him in, I told Sarah, straightening my Armani blazer. Andrew burst in, rumpled and flushed, designer clothes wrinkled, hair tousled with frustration. They're going to decline my loan again, aren't they? Good morning to you too, I said calmly. Have a seat. Cut the corporate BS, Sophia. You know why I'm here. He dropped into the chair opposite me. That trust fund is gone. I need capital for my next venture. Gone was putting it lightly. He'd torched through $2 million in under 2 years, chasing trend after trend, from drones to NFTs to crypto. Meanwhile, I'd stayed quiet, learning everything I could about finance, acquisitions, and power. Your loan was declined because you're a high-risk borrower, I said. Your credit score is abysmal. Your business plan is vague at best. Every previous venture has failed, spectacularly. I'm your brother. And this is a bank. Not a family charity. He leaned forward, voice low and urgent. Mom and Dad are counting on this. After what happened with their retirement. Ah yes. The retirement accounts. Emptied to prop up Andrew's last doomed project. They'd trusted their visionary son. Again. I picked up the application on my desk. Interesting timing. They're requesting $50,000 for home renovations. Andrew's face stiffened. They need to fix up the house. It's going to be collateral. So it's not about the house. It's about bailing you out. Again. I set the paperwork aside, like they'd once set aside my future. You were a junior loan officer, he snapped. I was building a tech company. They made the right call. I smiled, not kindly. No one had asked about my progress in years. I'd just been the fallback. The steady one. The invisible one. Did they mention I bought First Regional Trust 6 months ago? He blinked. What? Through a holding company. Quiet acquisition. The nameplate on my desk? That's mine. That's not possible. You couldn't have. I could. And I did. While he burned cash chasing buzzwords, I built something real. Brick by brick. Deal by deal. He sank lower in the chair. So this is revenge. No, I said. This is business. A concept you never quite grasped, even with all my money. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Darling, please check on our loan. Urgent. Your father meets Andrew's investors tomorrow. I tilted the screen toward him. More investors? Really? They're legitimate, he muttered, eyes avoiding mine. Like the crypto investors? The NFT guys? The ones who vanished with what was left of my trust. That wasn't my fault. The market. Don't. I held up a hand. I've heard this song before. He stood, dragging his fingers through his hair. What do you want, Sophia? An apology. He hesitated. Fine. I'm sorry we took your trust fund. But this isn't about me, Mom and Dad need this loan. I studied him. The desperation. The entitlement still coiled beneath it. They need it, I said slowly, to bet on you again. To throw good money after bad. Again, I have a real opportunity this time. Like the real opportunity that cost them their retirement. My smile was cold. You mean the retirement savings they now keep at my bank? The ones tied to the accounts you hope they never find out about. I see every transaction. The color drained from his face. You wouldn't, he said slowly, not about the offshore accounts, the secret credit cards, the money you've siphoned out of your own startup. I leaned back, steepling my fingers. You're right, I wouldn't, that would be unprofessional. He sank deeper into the chair, his bravado unraveling. What are you going to do? I picked up our parents' loan application again, flipping through the pages like any banker would. I'm going to evaluate it on merit, just like any CEO would. They'll lose the house, he said quietly. Maybe they should have thought about that before giving away my future to someone who confuses gambling with entrepreneurship. My phone buzzed. Another message from Mom. Andrew says you're being difficult. Please remember, we're family. Family. The same family that mocked my career, dismissed my ambitions, and handed my inheritance to their favorite son without a second thought. I glanced at Andrew, not the golden child anymore, just a man who'd never been told no until now. The loan committee meets tomorrow, I said evenly. They'll have my recommendation by then. He stood slowly, shoulders slumped. As he reached the door, I added, oh, and Andrew, you may want to give them a heads up about the audit. Compliance flagged some irregularities in their accounts. I'm sure it's nothing, but we'll need answers. The next morning, I sat in the bank's conference room, waiting. Across the polished oak table, my parents fidgeted in their chairs, dressed for dignity, Dad in his old power suit, Mom with her best pearls. They still didn't know. The bank's owner will be with you shortly, Sarah said as she set down glasses of water. She reviews all major loan requests personally. Dad huffed. 30 years we've banked here, back when Richard ran the place. We never had to jump through hoops like this. I smiled, remembering how easy it had been to buy the bank from Richard. He'd wanted out. I'd had the capital. It was a clean deal, cleaner than most of Andrew's opportunities. The door opened. We'd like to discuss, Mom began, then froze as I stepped into the room. Her mouth snapped shut. Dad stared like he was seeing a ghost. Hello, Mom, Dad, I said, calm as ever, taking my seat at the head of the table. Let's talk about your loan application. Sophia, Mom's voice barely rose above a whisper. You own the bank? For the past 6 months, I said, flipping open their file. Andrew didn't mention it. He was in my office yesterday, pleading, again. Dad's face twisted. So that's why our loans are getting declined. You're getting revenge. No, I said coolly, your loans are being declined because you're walking financial disasters. I slid a folder across the table. Retirement funds, depleted, credit cards, maxed, 3-second mortgages, all to fund Andrew's ideas. He just needs one more shot, Mom said, desperate now. This new business is just like every other one. I cut in. Would you like to see where my trust fund actually went? I turned to the projector behind me and brought up the records. Line after line of wire transfers, every cent of my trust, gone. The $500,000 crypto crash. The NFT platform that vanished. The tech company with no product, no code, just buzzwords and branding. All of it funded by my money, the money you handed over because he deserved it more. Dad's face had gone pale. We thought, he showed us projections. Projections? I said, almost laughing. Do you want to see his real financials? The offshore transfers? The credit cards you don't know about? You're lying, Mom said, but her voice cracked. Andrew would never. I pressed another button. Andrew's hidden accounts filled the screen, extravagant charges, offshore transfers, and a dozen feeble attempts to cover the fallout. Your golden boy has been lying to you for years, I said, voice low, and you were too busy believing in him to notice. Just like you never stopped to wonder how your basic bank employee daughter could afford a penthouse apartment or kept climbing the ladder. Dad stared at the screen, stunned. Why didn't you ever tell us? I met his eyes. Would you have listened, or would you have shrugged it off, like you did everything else I accomplished? Mom reached out, tears already forming. Darling, we can explain. There's no need. I cut in, lifting their loan application. This meeting is about your request for $50,000, supposedly for home renovations. They shifted uncomfortably. Interesting omission, the real purpose is to increase your home's appraised value, so you can take out yet another mortgage, to fund Andrew's latest venture. I tossed the paperwork aside. Let me guess, crypto. Again? Dad straightened in his chair. It's different. He has real investors this time. No, he has more lies. I tapped a few keys and pulled up another file. Fake pitch decks, ghost investors, and yet another attempt to siphon money he didn't earn. Please, Mom whispered, voice trembling, if we don't get this loan, we'll lose the house. I stood, walking to the window. Like I lost my trust fund? They said nothing. The fund Grandma left for my future, the one you handed over without so much as a phone call. Silence thickened. After a moment, Dad asked, what are you going to do? I turned to face them. As owner of this bank, I'm declining your loan, and as your daughter, I'm freezing your accounts pending a full audit. Compliance flagged several transactions that require review. Dad bolted upright. You can't do that, we're your parents. And this is my bank. I sat back down, steady and unshaken. You taught me a long time ago that family and business don't mix. I'm just applying the lesson you gave me. We'll go to another bank, Mom snapped, grasping at the last thread. With your credit rating, your drained accounts, for mortgages? I gave a humorless smile. By all means, try. I gathered the documents into a folder. You'll find the audit notice in today's mail. What audit notice? Dad's voice cracked. The one requesting documentation for every major transaction over the last 5 years, especially those linked to Andrew's ventures. The IRS will want details on the offshore transfers. Mom broke. Tears ran freely now. Dad looked smaller than I'd ever seen him. You have 24 hours to provide the documents, I said professionally. I'd recommend starting with the trust fund. Sophia, please, Mom sobbed. We're family. Family. I stood, folding the folder under one arm. Family doesn't steal from each other, or belittle one child while handing everything to another, and family doesn't crawl back only when they need help. As I reached the door, Dad called out behind me. What about Andrew? He's still your brother. I paused. He is, and as his sister, I've already given him the greatest gift he'll ever get. Dad blinked. What gift? I glanced back. I taught him what consequences look like. I nodded to Sarah, who was waiting just outside. Please show them out, and let them know all future loan applications require my direct approval. That night, from the quiet of my penthouse office, I reviewed the audit team's initial report. The truth was uglier than I'd imagined. Forged invoices, hidden withdrawals, hush payments. Andrew hadn't just burned bridges, he'd built a bonfire with every dollar he touched. My phone lit up with messages. Mom, please reconsider. We'll lose everything. Dad, this isn't what family does to each other. Andrew, you've ruined me. I hope you're proud. I deleted them all and returned to my screen, where numbers and facts didn't lie. Let them sit with the truth, that while they belittled my choices, stole my inheritance, and praised failure disguised as ambition, I was building something they'd one day need. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't telling people you made it. It's making them ask. And sometimes, the most satisfying word in the English language is simply, declined.